dive into the value types we can use in Studio. Working in the Studio target map, you create target objects, and when you create a target object, you get the list of target fields, and now you have to assign a value to each field. Likewise, when you're working in the source map, you import the target interface that was created in the target map, and then for each interface field on a business object, you have to assign a value to this field. The value types, we have general value types that can be used both in target and source map. Then we have value types specific to the target map and other value types specific to the source map. The first value type is a literal. And that just means that you type the value where you need it. The next one is a constant. And the constant is a named value defined elsewhere in Studio. And then you can just point to that named value and use it on a target field or an interface field over here. And if you go back to the constant and change the value of the constant, well, you will have changed the value wherever that constant was used. The last general value is a calculated value. And that means that you call a rule to get the value to assign. A rule, we'll get to them, is basically something you call with some parameters to get a value back. And of course, when you call the rule, you have to assign values to the parameters, and guess what? You will be using the same value types to do that. Going down to the target map, we have prepared a little sketch of a business object hierarchy here with the business objects, and each business object has a list of interface field, and also some of the business objects have target objects connected to them with lists of target fields. The first value type in a target map is an interface value. And that means if, for instance, I'm working down on this target object on a target field, I can point up in my ancestor hierarchy, and on any of the ancestors I can pick up an interface value and use that to assign to my target field down here. The next value type is a target value. So if I'm working on a target field down here, again I can look up in my ancestor hierarchy and I can pick up the value of a target field on a target object connected to any of my ancestors. So for instance, I could pick up a target field from this target object that has already been calculated and assign the value of that target field to my target field down here. The last value type in the target map is a relationship. Let's say, for instance, that this business object hierarchy is account. And over here we have the customer. Now, it would probably be reasonable to expect that every account would have a customer that owns the account. So there is some kind of relationship between the two. Let's say in the target system, it is on this target object that on one of the target fields, I need to get the key that was calculated when the customer was migrated. I can then, in the target map, create a relationship, and relationships can be created from any business object in the hierarchy and to any business object in the customer hierarchy. Let's say that we are connecting from this business object to that business object in customer. Now, when assigning a value down here, I can go through that relationship and find either a target field value or an interface field value on the business object that I found, or one of its ancestors, and I can use the value to assign to my target field down here. Jumping to the source map, again we have a little preparation. With the business objects, that was imported as part of the target interface, and each business object with the interface fields that we have to assign values to. We're in the source map, so we have created source maps on each business object that points into the metadata structures in the source system. And for each metadata structure, I get access to the source fields. The first value type is a source value. And that means if I'm working here, for instance, I need to assign a value to an interface field down here. I can use a source field from my own source map, or I can look up in my ancestors and use any source field from any one of those. And finally, in the source map, we have the interface value. Again, if I need to assign a value to a field down here, I can look up in my ancestors and I can pick up the value of an interface field that has already been calculated. These are the value types in the studio.